Okay, good evening, everyone. So yesterday, due to with some account or technical issues, we discussed about the billing alarm and we haven't configured that, right? So first, let us complete that billing alarm, like how to create the billing alarm, and then we can move on to the topic called identity access management. So yesterday already we covered the theory part of the billing alarm. So if you create that alarm, whenever the total estimated charges are going more than whatever the value we have set, then automatically Amazon will send you one email alert, right? Now we will see how to do that. In this billing alarm, we are going to use two different services. One is a CloudWatch service and the second one is a SNS service. We will discuss about those two services in detail in the coming sessions. But for now, just to create the alarm, we are going to use those two services. Okay, right. So first, we will start from the beginning onwards. I think yesterday I have showed something called a billing preferences, right? So I will show you again that part so that it will be like we are doing the billing alarm from the step 1 to the last step. So first, you have to log into your Amazon account. Log into your Amazon account using the root credentials. And then on the top right corner, you can see your account name. Click on your account name. And then click on the billing dashboard. Once you click on the billing dashboard, it will take you to a page where you can see the bills and all the things. And on the left side, click on the billing preferences under the preferences section. And then enable all the three options. This one is mandatory to create the billing alarm. This receive billing alerts option is mandatory to receive the billing alerts and to monitor the total cost. And this one receive free tier usage alerts, that is required or that is mandatory to receive whenever you are about to complete 85 to 100% of the free tier usage. Free tier is not like unlimited free, right? For everything, there is some limitation. Whenever you have utilized 85% of the free tier features, then you will receive a notification. And the first one is every month, whenever there is a bill got generated, that bill will be delivered to your email as a PDF document. These three always I recommend to enable. And the last one called receive billing alerts is mandatory to configure the billing alarm. Without configuring this, we cannot create the billing alarm. Even if you create, you will not be able to get the alerts. Okay, once you are done with all these billing preferences, then you have to type in the search box, you have to type CloudWatch. That is a service which we can use to monitor any resource. In this billing alarm, we are monitoring the total estimated cost on your account. Here, one requirement is you can create the billing alarm only from Northern Virginia region. Once you open the CloudWatch service, that will look like this. And then here, make sure that you're in Northern Virginia region. If you are not in Northern Virginia region, you don't get this billing option. You will not be able to create the billing alarm if you are not in Northern Virginia. But if you create the alarm in the Northern Virginia, that will monitor the total charges across all the regions of your Amazon account. Once you are in the CloudWatch service of Northern Virginia region, on the left side, just scroll down to find out the billing under alarm section. Click on the billing under alarm section. And it is showing that I don't have any billing alarms as of now. Actually, the CloudWatch is also a service which will incur some charges. But as a free tier, they will give you some 10 free alarms. If you create less than 10 alarms, you will not be charged. If you create more than 10 alarms, then you will be charged. And now we are going to create the first alarm, which is less than 10, and you will not be charged. And whenever you are going more than like estimated usage, like $5, it will send you one email, right? Are we going to charge for those emails? Actually, yes. But under the free tier, you will get 1,000 free email notifications per month. 1,000 email notifications. So we cannot use those many, so you will not be charged. Okay, now it's time to create our first alarm. That will be the billing alarm. Click on create alarm. You can use this or this button also. Both are same. Click on create alarm. Then you need to select the metric. What is the meaning of a metric, or what might be the meaning of a metric? Any guess? Metric is nothing but what you are going to monitor. In our case, what we are monitoring or what we are about to monitor, total cost, right? That is called as total estimated charges. Click on the metric, and in this select metric, you are going to select what exactly you would like to monitor. Click on the select metric. Then you can see a lot of things. Don't worry. But if you are the first, if you are using the Amazon account for the first time, you don't see these many metrics. Actually, I'm using the old account because I submitted my address proof, and that will take like 24 to 72 hours to activate my account. That's why I'm using another account, which is the old one. In this, I have used a lot of services, so I will get a lot of metrics. But for you, you can see hardly 1 or 2 metrics only. Just go to this, click on select metric. And here in the browse category, if you scroll down, somewhere you can see billing. Right? Click on billing because the estimated charges belongs to the billing category. Click on billing. And you don't see these many. You can see only one called total estimated charge. Click on total estimated charge because the actual cost will be visible at the end of the month. Before that, how Amazon will do that is it will estimate based on your usage. Let us say you are using 2 servers. So 2 servers will consume 48 hours per day, right? 24 hours per day. Each server will consume 24 hours and 2 servers will consume 48 hours. By end of the month, if you are using both the servers at a time, you might consume almost like 1400 to 1500 hours. So you are about to exceed the free tier, right? And it might cost you some amount also. Based on that estimation, it will give you the approximate cost per month. If that estimated charge is going more than $5, then it will give you some alert. That is what we are going to configure. So is that mandatory to configure $5? No, you can go for $3 also. So click on total estimated charge. Click on total estimated charge. And you can monitor only US dollars as of now. Might be in the future, they might give you some different currencies also. But as of now, you can monitor only in the US dollars. Select USD and click on select metric. Then click on select metric. And then don't change anything here. Don't change anything here. Scroll down and a threshold type should be static. What is the meaning of a static? A fixed value. Threshold. What is the meaning of a threshold? What is your upper limit? My upper limit will be $5. $5. Whenever the total cost is going more than $5, I would like to receive an alert, email notification. So select the static and at what number or at how much bill you would like to receive the alert. That you have to select this option. Would you like to receive the alert whenever the bill is less than or a greater than? Greater than, right? Always we will prefer to receive an alert if the bill is going more than what we are expecting. So here you can select greater than 5. What is the meaning of this greater or equal? Even if the bill is $5, you will receive the alert if you select this one. If you select greater, then you will receive the alert if the total bill is at least 5 point something. If the bill is $5, you don't receive the alert because we selected greater. And then just scroll down and click on next. And here select in alarm. In alarm, what is that in alarm is whenever the total charge is going more than $5, then the status of your alarm will be in alarm. Then I would like to receive the alert. That's why we have to select in alarm. Actually, these are the states of the alarm. 3 states: in alarm, okay, insufficient data. Those things we will discuss in the CloudWatch topic. But for now, just select the in alarm to be on safer side or to avoid the additional cost. Then here select create new topic. Then here create new topic. And here you have to give your email address. Enter your email address here and then click on create topic. What will happen here is whenever there is an alert, that email will be sent to this particular topic. That is a kind of a list, because the SNS is called as a subscription based service. What it is, how it works, everything we can discuss in the SNS concept. And scroll down and click on next. Give some name. I will say like billing alarm. And give some description. Click on next. But don't worry, already on my account, the total charge is more than $5. That's why you can see my total cost is about like $30 or so. Okay, so click on create alarm. And here, one more thing, what you have to do is, once you create the alarm, you can see there is something called warning, right? Because that is a subscription based service. You have to go to your email address and you will receive one confirmation email from Amazon. Like this. You will receive one subscription confirmation email. Once you click on the confirm subscription, then only you will start receiving the emails from the billing alarm. If you don't confirm the subscription, you don't receive any email alerts. So how to check whether we have confirmed it or not? This warning will not come if you confirm the subscription. Let me refresh. What happened? There is no warning, right? And you can see the state as insufficient data. What is the meaning of insufficient data? Still, it is unable to see what is the total cost on your Amazon account. It will take some time. Initially, it will take like 1 to 5 minutes of time. Whenever you create for the first time, it will take some time to collect the data. From that moment onwards, if the total charge is less than $5, then the state is okay. If the total charge is more than $5, then the state will be in alarm. Whenever the state is in alarm, automatically an email will be triggered to the SNS topic, which we created. In that, there is one email address added. To that email address, you will receive that email alert. That's how the billing alarm will work. Okay, just it is always as a precaution not to get huge charges on your Amazon account. Because if you create that well in advance, you will receive a notification that you are about to exceed the $5 of the bill by end of the month. If you are in the like first week of the month, immediately you can log in and you can stop all the paid services so that the bill will not be exceeded. Now, what happened here? What is the state of the alarm? In alarm, because already on my account, some services are running, some paid services, because this is not a free tier account. This is like 2 years old account. And the total cost is like approximately $29 to $30. That's why it is got alarm. And if you go to your email, by now, you might receive a billing alarm also. This is a billing alarm. You are receiving this email because your estimated charges are greater than the limit you set for the alarm. Because I set the alarm for $5, but my total cost is $30 approximately. This is how you will receive the billing alerts whenever the total cost is going more than a specific value. And we set the value as a $5, and you can set like $2 or $3 also. That depends on like what will be the maximum amount you can afford. But if you got any bill, don't make any payment. You can go ahead and you can create a support ticket and they can cancel that particular bill, because you are using this for learning purpose, right? For that reason, like 2 to 3 times, you can get that kind of a credit waiver. They will waive off the bill. Okay, right. So now we are done with the billing alarm concept. And now let us move on to our first service called identity access management. I think yesterday I have given some overview, right? Brief overview of the identity access management service. What is the identity access management service and what is the use case of that? Use case in the sense of what is the purpose of that particular identity access management? It's a kind of a service by using which we can secure our Amazon account. That is not only the feature, we have a lot of features available that we can discuss. And in our first session, in the AWS introduction session, we discussed that Amazon is having some regions and availability zones as part of the global infrastructure, right? That means if I create any server in the Northern Virginia region, that server will be available physically in that particular region. Let us say if I need one server physically to be available in the Mumbai, then I have to select the region as Mumbai, and that server belongs to Mumbai region only. That is the concept of the region. But coming to this identity access management, this is a service called global service. What is the meaning of a global service? This service belongs to all the regions. It is not restricted to any region. Just I will give a simple example. By using this service, we can create some users. We can create some users. Let us say if I create one user called user 1, that user 1 belongs to all the regions. That is what the global service means. If the IAM service is a region specific, then you have to create the user account for single employee in all the regions. If the IAM service is a region based service, as it is a global service, if you create a user account for any employee, he can use that user account to access any region and to create the servers or services in any region in the AWS cloud. That's why Amazon is maintaining that as a global service. That's why Amazon is maintaining that as a global service. By using this identity access management, we can secure our Amazon accounts and we can provide shared access to your Amazon account. What is the meaning of a shared access? We will have a single Amazon account and you can create multiple user accounts in the single account so that multiple people can use the same Amazon account using their individual credentials. Like I can log in with my username and password. You can log in with your username and password, and someone might log in with their username and password. Why to create multiple user accounts is to track down which user is doing what kind of task or what kind of actions he is doing. If everybody is using the same username and password, we don't know like which employee is doing what kind of action. If someone asks you like, so-and-so server got created by which user? That is not possible if you don't have a separate user account. And also, no user or all the users don't get the same kind of requirements, right? If there is a user in the development team, they might require some special permissions. If a user in the testing team, he might require a read-only permission. So according to that, we have to limit each and every user with the minimum required permission. So in this identity access management, we are going to deal with how to create the users, how to provide the permissions, and how can you manage the users if they forgot their password, and how can you force the users to enable the multi-factor authentication. Everything related to the access and security can be done using the service called identity access management. In this service, we are going to discuss about 4 components called users, groups, policies, and roles. What is a user? What is the meaning of a user? An individual account for a person, right? An individual person called user. And if I create an account for that user, that is called as an user account, which belongs to an individual person. Then what is a group? Group in general. What is a group? Collection of similar objects, right? Let us say in your company, you might have different departments like support, services, development, testing. And in the 100 employees, 20 people might belong to the development team, 30 people might belong to testing team, right? Instead of maintaining everybody randomly, we will place those users in individual groups. There are some advantages of having the individual groups also. Instead of giving the permissions to each and every user, if I apply some permissions on the group, the same permissions will be automatically applied to each and every person. Let us say you have like 20 friends. You would like to send some photo to the friends on the WhatsApp. Generally, what you have to do, you have to send the same image for 20 people individually. What if you create a WhatsApp group, and if you add all the 20 people into the group, and if you send that particular image into the group, automatically that will be delivered to all the 20 people, right? In the same way, if you create a group, if you add the related or what we call that, the similar employees into the group, whatever the permissions you would like to apply or whatever the restrictions you would like to apply, those things you can apply on the group. Automatically, those permissions or restrictions will be applied to each and every employee. That is the advantage of groups. How to apply the permissions? That is called as a policy. I need to, let us say you have one user account in Amazon and you need some permissions to monitor something. So you came and like you will request that I need read permission on Amazon account. I can say that, okay, I will give you the permission in 5 minutes. How to give the permission? The permissions can be applied to the users using the concept called policy. And the roles is a completely different concept. The roles also used to apply the permissions, but not to the users. Let us say you have one server and one storage. You would like to allow the server to manage the storage automatically. There is no user involved. If you would like to give permissions to one service to manage another service, then you have to give the permissions using the concept called roles. If you would like to allow any user to manage the service, you have to give the permission using the concept called policies. Policies and roles can be used to provide the permissions. If you would like to give the permission to a person or a user, you have to use the concept called policy. And if you would like to give the permission to a service, then you have to use the concept called roles. To practice or to do the practical on the roles, at least we need to complete 2 different services. Because by using the roles, you can apply the permissions on one service so that the service 1 can manage service 2. When we will do the practical on the roles is, once we are done with the concept called EC2, then we will come back and we will see the practicals of the roles concept. And the remaining 3, we can complete with this IAM concept. Now let us discuss individually about each and every term, users, groups, roles, and policies. Before that, the features of the IAM service are, one is the shared access to your account. Already we use the term. And a granular permissions. What is that granular permission means? What is the meaning of a granular permission? I said that if you apply any permission to a group, automatically that permissions will be applied to all the users, right? Whoever is present in that group. That is called as a granular permission. And you can provide the permissions depending on the user requirement. Instead of giving every employee with the same permissions, for employee 1, you can give full permissions. Employee 2, you can give only a certain limit of permissions. That is also called as granular permissions. And by using the identity access management, we can enable multi-factor authentication. Already we have enabled multi-factor authentication on your Amazon account for the root user. For the root user, because we don't know at that time, we don't know about the different users. We only knows about the root user. What is the root user? The account which got created, or the user account which got created at the time of account creation. And the root user is the account owner. The root user is the account owner. Account owner means he will have the full permissions on your Amazon account. Instead of full permissions, I can use a term called without any restriction, like unrestricted access on your AWS account. That is the advantage of the root user. And then own password policies. You can create your own password policies according to your organizational requirement. What is the password policy? You might have like 100 employees in your organization, and you can define what should be the password. Like, what is the structure of the password? Like, what is the minimum length of the password? Does it must contain the uppercase, lowercase, number, special character? You can define the structure of the password so that every employee, like every user, has to follow that particular policy. Without following that policy, nobody can set their password. And then identity federation. What is that identity federation means? Any guess? Or have you ever heard about like single sign-on? Single sign-on? Okay. What is that single sign-on is? By using single account, you can log into multiple applications. Just I will give you a simple example. I think everybody will have some Google account, right? By using the Google account, you can log into YouTube, you can log into Gmail, you can log into Google Drive. With the same username and password, you are logging into multiple applications. That is called as a single sign-on. Single sign-on, SAML, or LDAP, all are the similar things. Let us say when that identity federation will be used is, if you are working for a company, they will have some user database in the office. They will create one username and password for you, right? But in the AWS, by default, your organization username and password won't work. On AWS, you have to create a separate username and password. Instead of that, you can integrate your organizational user database. And we have a concept called Active Directory in Windows Server that will be maintained by your system administrators. If you integrate that with your Amazon, you can log into the Amazon account using your organizational credentials. That is called as identity federation or single sign-on. That is also a feature of identity access management. And what is that last one? It supports a PCI DSS compliance. First, what is the meaning of a compliance? Or what is that PCI DSS? If you go for any online store, like major online stores, every online store is compliant with PCI DSS. When we can say compliant is, for every action, for everything, there are some set of rules. If they are following those rules, we can say that they are compliant to so-and-so standards. I think everybody knows about like ISO standards, right? When they will give the ISO certification, if they are following some set of standards, right? In the same way, for every organization who is going to store your credit or debit card details, they have to follow some PCI DSS standards. If they are following that, they can say that so-and-so organization is PCI DSS compliant. That means whatever the data you are storing on their website, that is safe and secure. The full form of the PCI DSS is Payment Card Industry Data Security. Payment Card Industry Data Security Standards. Let us say yesterday, whenever we are full form, Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. PCI, Payment Card Industry. DSS, Data Security Standard. Yesterday, whenever we are trying to create our new Amazon account, I entered my debit card details, right? So the Amazon will store my debit card details. Whatever the data they are storing, is that safe and secure? How can we say? If that Amazon is following that PCI DSS, then we can say that our data is secure. So Amazon is PCI DSS compliance. Who will give that certification? There are some auditing entities out there. They will do the auditing for every company, and based on that, they will give these kind of standards, like they are compliant to so and so, or SOC2 auditing, or this company is compliant with such standards. They will give the certificate. Based on that, we can say that whatever the cart details we are storing on Amazon will be stored in a safe and secure location. Those details cannot be misused by any person. That is what the PCI DSS compliance means. Now, coming back to the features. What is the first component on the IAM? Users, right? Okay. So on the users, there are two types of users available. Already we know about the root user, right? What is the root user? The user account which got created at the time of a creation. Who is the owner of your Amazon account? But Amazon recommends not to use this root user for day-to-day activities. Let us say I'm an employee of the company. So recently I created one Amazon account for my company, but I know the root username and password, right? But I am not supposed to use the root user. The root user is only to be used to set up your Amazon account initially. What I have to do, I have to create one user account with my name, and I need to give all the permissions, whatever I am looking for, and I have to use my username and password to log into the Amazon account. That is what the recommended way of accessing that. Whenever you create any user on Amazon platform, that is called as IAM user. That is called as IAM user. Root user is only used to set up your Amazon account initially, and that is not recommended to use for day-to-day activities. Every day you have to work on your Amazon account, right? For that purpose, you should not use the root account. You have to use your own Amazon account, which is called as IAM user account. IAM user. That's where we got that user's concept. Now, if you come to the IAM user, that IAM user, sorry, the IAM user is an individual account within the same AWS account. So yesterday we created one AWS account. As of now, we have seen how to log in as a root user. I can say by login as a root user, I can create myself one user, and this is called as a IAM user. So I will get my own username and password. I have to use this particular username and password to log into this Amazon account and to perform any activities. But whenever you create a new user, by default, that user will get no permissions. What is the meaning of a no permissions? Is he able to log in or not? Yes, he can log in, but he cannot do anything. Even he cannot read the data. Even he cannot read the data. He will get an error. That's why at the time of creating the user account, you need to apply the permissions, whatever is required for that particular user. How to apply the permissions? For that, we have a separate concept. Now, coming back to this IAM user, let us say we are creating one user called IAM user, and let us say the name of the user will be anything. And whenever you are trying to create the user, for every user, there will be two types of access available. There are two types of access available. One is console access type, and the second one is programmatic access type. Let us say I created one user account called user1. At the time of creating this user1, I have to select what type of access this user is looking for. Either a console or a programmatic or both type of access. First, what is these two different types of access? Let us say I created one user account for you, and if I select the management console access, then the user will get the combination of username and password. If any user got created with the console access type, then the user will get the username and password combination, and the user can log into the Amazon account using any browser, like a Chrome browser, Firefox, or Internet Explorer. They can log into the Amazon account using the browser. Whereas this programmatic access doesn't allow any user to log into the Amazon account using the browser. Instead, this programmatic access user is used to log into the Amazon account using CLI, SDK, and APIs. What is that CLI stands for? Command line interface tools. A simple command prompt. Like you can open a command prompt, and by using here, you can use some commands to log into your Amazon account. Whatever you can do using the browser, the same things you can do using the command prompt also. And one is the CLI, and the second one is the SDK. What is that SDK? Software development kit, which is used by the developers. While they are developing the application, they need to connect to the services from the tool. In that case, they will use the SDK. And there is one more thing called API. What is that API? What is that API? Application programming interface, which can be used by the developers. Let us say you have some storage on the Amazon and the application is running on some server. And whatever the files uploaded to the website has to be stored onto the storage. How they will communicate and how the validation will be done. In that case, they will create some API and it will establish the communication with application and the backend services. And at that time, they require some kind of a login, right? Automatic login. That can be done using the programmatic access. If you create any user with the programmatic access, they don't get the password. Instead of the password, they will get two components called access key ID and secret access key. Okay, I will show you that. So whenever you talk about the console access type, the user will get the username and password, and they can log in using the browser. And if you create a programmatic access type, the programmatic access type of a user can log into the Amazon account using CLI, SDK, API, or some other development tools. Most of the time, the CLI can be used by the developer and DevOps. SDK and APIs are purely for the developer. Whatever you can do using the browser, the same thing can be done using the three also. If you create any user using the programmatic access type, instead of username and password, they will use the access key ID and secret access key to log into your Amazon account. We will create one user with the programmatic access type, and we will see how that access key ID and secret access key looks like, and how to install the CLI tools, and how to log into your Amazon account. That also we will verify that. But before that, first we will check with the console access type, and then we will go on to the programmatic access type. And then once we are done with the user, the next one is the groups, right? What is the group? Let us say I have multiple users, user 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Out of these, 3 people belong to the development and 2 people belong to the admin team. So these people require read-only permission and these people require full permission. Instead of applying the permissions on each and every employee individually, I will create 2 groups. All the developers I will place in the group 1 and the admins I will place in the group 2. And here I will apply the read permission and here I will apply the full permission. So that these 2 people will get the full permission and these 3 people will get the read permission. Now, how to apply this particular permission? To apply the permission, we use a concept called policies. What is a policy? Policy is a document which is written in JSON format. It contains some statements. What are those statements? Those statements are the permissions. What type of permissions you would like to give to the user? Don't worry, we are not going to write any JSON script because Amazon is providing you a tool called Visual Editor where you have to select the permissions required. Automatically, the JSON script will be generated. Just you have to use the script to create the policy. So how to create the policy and everything we will see in the practicals. How to create our own policy or how to use the existing policies, how to apply the permissions using the policies to the users like individual user or to a group of users. All these things can be done in the policies concept. And then we have a final component called roles. Roles are also used to provide the permissions to the services, not the users. Let us say here I have a server. This is my server. And here I have one storage. And here there is one user. If you would like to allow this user to store some files on the storage, then this user requires write permission, right? That permissions can be provided using the concept called policy. If you would like to allow the server to give the permissions like write permissions to create the files on the storage, the same permissions can be applied to the server using the concept called roles. Whatever the required permissions can be applied to the user using the concept called policy, and the same permissions can be applied to your services using the concept called roles. If you take the example, here you need one server and one storage. Without having minimum 2 services, you cannot check how the roles will work. That's why we have a concept called EC2. Once we are done with the EC2 concept, then we will create a role and we will check whether the roles is working as expected or not. I will show you that. Just we have to attach up, like how we apply to the users, in the same way we will apply. That we can see in that roles concept. Once we will create an EC2 instance like server, and while creating the server, we will create one role and we can apply the role. Like providing the key. If you provide the key to a person, he can enter into that room, right? If you don't have a key, he cannot enter. In the same way, the policy or the role is required to communicate with some other services to read or write the data. So first what we do is, let us start with like creation of some users. Already we have done with the MFA configuration and the password policy. Now we will go with our actual things called user creations and applying the permissions and all the things. And remember, whatever the users we are creating today, all the users I'm going to create with management console access type. Once we create the different types of users with a different level of permissions, then we can switch to the programmatic access and we will create the users using the programmatic access. Once we are done with the both the type of access, then we will create one more user with both type of access to a single user. We will combine both type of access to a single user. If we start discussing both the things at a time, that will be like a kind of a confusion, right? So we will divide into 2 categories. First, we will go with the console access type. Management console access type. Whatever the users we are creating from now onwards, every user is console access type of a user. If you create a console access type of a user, the user will get a username and password, right? And that user is called as IAM user. Okay. First thing, create a user, user1, or I can say create a default user. Create a default user called user1. By default, what are the permissions provided to the user? What permissions will be allocated to the user by default? No permissions, right? Okay. What we do is we will create a default user with the username called user1, and then we will log in as a user1. I will log in as a user1, and we will cross check that the user one got any permissions or not. Because theoretically we discussed that, or we confirmed, or we decided that the user one will get no permission, including no read permission. That we have to verify. Every user, whatever the users we create with different level of access, everything we will practically verify whether the user got the required permissions or not. Okay, so first we have to create the user. So to create the user, log in as a root user. First you have to log in as a root user, because as of now we have only one user called root user. We don't have any users yet. So log in as a root user, and then in the search box type IAM, Identity Access Management, IAM, and click on IAM. Once you click on that IAM service, it will take you to the dashboard of the IAM service. So right now, how many users are there? 0. How many groups? 0. Policies? 0. Everything is a 0 except the roles. Even in your account also, you will get some default roles, because Amazon will have some kind of automation tools, right? Those automation tools will monitor your account. For that, they will create some default roles. I guess you will get 2 roles by default. Those are mandatory. They are required to be available in your account. Otherwise, Amazon cannot access your Amazon account. Okay. So on the left side, click on the users under access management. Click on users under access management. Then click on add users on the right side. Click on add users. Then you will be taken to a page where you can create the user. So here you have to give a username for the user. What is the username we decided? User one. User one will be the username. And here you can see there are 2 different types of access available. One is a programmatic access and one is a console access. What is the programmatic access? It will enable access key ID and secret access key, and the user can log into the Amazon account using the API, CLI, SDK, and other development tools. And now we are creating the management console access, so that the user will be enabled with a password along with the username called user1, and he can log in using the browser. So select the checkbox against the password. Select the checkbox against the password and assume that I am creating the user1 account for you guys, so that you can get some clarity on that. I'm creating this user1 account for you, and this user requires a password, and the password can be generated in 2 ways. One is auto generated password. That means whenever you create the user account, automatically the password will be generated. Or I can select the custom password and I can assign a password for you. I can decide one password for you. And being an administrator, at the time of creating the user account, I will be able to see the password. Account belongs to you and I will be able to see your password, which is not a secure way, right? So how can we avoid that kind of a situation? Let me select the auto generated password. So password will be randomly generated, and at the end of the page, it will display the username and password. So I'm going to see your account password, which is not a secure, right? To avoid that, there is one option called require password reset. Require password reset. If I select this checkbox, what will happen there is, whenever you try to log in for the very next time, you will be forced to change the password. Without changing the password, you cannot proceed further. You cannot log in without changing the password. It will force you to change the password. And remember, while you are changing the password, you have to follow the password policy. If you don't follow the password policy, you will not be able to change the password. Once you select the checkbox, click on the next. What is the next? Permissions. So this is the place where you can apply the permission to the users. And we are creating this user without any additional permission, right? That's why here I don't apply any permission. Generally, you can apply the permission to a user in 3 different ways. One is attaching the policy directly, and the second one is adding that user to a group, or the third one is you can copy the permissions from an existing user also. Let us say there are already some development team users are there. A new developer joined and he requires the same permissions whatever is having by the other development team employees. So instead of worrying about or selecting multiple permissions, directly you can select one person from the same team. So the same permissions will be automatically applied. That we will see at the time of applying the permissions. But now we are not giving any additional permissions. We are just creating a default user. Ignore this page and click on next. What is this? What is the meaning of a tag? Or what is the purpose of the tag? I think like whenever you're traveling for your luggage, you will add some tag, right? What is the use of the tag? Identification, right? In the same way here, you can use the tags for identification purpose. So user 1 is there. To which location this particular user belongs to, or which team this user belongs, or which country he belongs, or in which office he is working. Everything you can add as a tags. I can say location. I can say Hyderabad. So this user belongs to Hyderabad office. And let us say team. I can say developer. Like this, you can add maximum 50 tags per user. You can add up to 50 tags. Without a tag also you can create, because the tags are optional. Tags are purely for the identification purpose, and it is no way related with the performance or high availability or anything, just for identification purpose. That's a kind of an ID. Just enter all your required tags and then click on next, where you can review the users, what all the options you have selected, and then click on create user. Now the user got created. And if you read all these things, here you can see something like users with AWS Management Console access sign in at this particular URL. That means all the IAM users has to use this sign in link to log into the Amazon account. This is the one. And what is the username? Username is user1. And what is the password? That was randomly generated, right? So if you click on show, this is the password. So what I do, this account is for you, right? I will share these details with you over the email. So that I will ask you to log into the Amazon account and just check the accessibility. Now assume that I am the user 1. So now I got these details over the email, and you know my password, right? Because you shared this password with me. Or I can say admin shared my username and password with me, so that the password is known to the admin also, which is not a safe and secure. So what will happen here is we have to use this URL to log in. What is that URL? That is called as IAM user sign in link. I'm trying to log in as a user 1, right? How Amazon knows that I belongs to which Amazon account? Here you can see some number, right? This is called as account ID. Sorry. This is called as account ID. What is the account ID? Whenever you create the Amazon account, Amazon will allocate one unique ID for your Amazon account. Based on this account ID, Amazon will identify that this user one belongs to so-and-so Amazon account. There are different ways to log in. First, we will see this. Or being a root user, how can we log into the Amazon? Let us say if you're trying to log in as a root user, how can you log in? You will use aws.amazon.com, right? And then you can click on sign into the console. Just I'm using a different browser. The reason is I cannot log in with the multiple users in the same browser. Generally, what you will get into this page whenever you click on sign in. And what is the user one? User one is a root user or IAM user? IAM user. So you have to select the IAM user. Now what it is asking? It is asking you to enter the account ID. Is it easy to remember the account ID, which is like 12-digit number, which is not easy, right? So that's why if you are able to remember, no need to use that sign in link. You can type the account ID here and you can click on next. Or you can create an alias. What is the meaning of an alias? Alternate name. Alternate. So there is an account ID called so-and-so number, 12-digit number. What I do is I can create an alias like funny16. So instead of account number, here I can enter my name or an organization name. Generally, they will use the organization name. That will be easy to remember, right? The name is easy to remember instead of a number. How many of you guys remember the mobile phone numbers of all of your friends? Hardly you can remember few, right? But you can remember every one of your friends' name. So you will type the name and you can click on the call button. But if I ask you to dial the number manually, I think most of the people cannot. That's why here Amazon will give you an option either to use an account ID or account alias. I will show you a simple thing. This is the account ID. I am sure about that. Or you can see the account ID is available here. This is the account ID, which ends with 8352, right? The same thing here, 8352. So to log in as an IAM user, here you have to type the account ID and you need to click on next. So that it will take you to a new page where you have to type the username and password and you can log in. Or directly, you can use this sign-in link, which will be shared to you by your administrator, and just copy that URL into the browser so that that field will be automatically filled. See here, it got automatically pre-filled. And now here I have to type the username. And what is the password? This is the password. Click on sign in. And immediately it will force me to change the password. Without changing the password, I cannot proceed further. So here, old password means the password which is automatically generated. And here, new password I can enter. And this new password cannot be seen by the administrator also. Even the root user cannot see the password. That's how all the usernames and passwords will be secured. Not only on Amazon, you go for anywhere, nobody, even the administrator, cannot see your passwords. Okay. Now what I am going to do is I'm going to use a password which will not fulfill the password policy requirement. What is the password? I'm giving like 129. So if I do the same thing, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. If I click on confirm password change, you will get some error. The password does not comply with account password policy set by administrator. What is the password policy? We selected 12 digits, like 12 characters. You can change that to 18, 20, that doesn't matter. So here, use the old password and the new password. What will be the good one? It must contain 12 characters minimum, and it must contain one capital letter, one small letter, number, special character. These are the password policy, and I cannot use the previous passwords as a new password. If I use the same old password as a new password, it won't allow me to change because I am not comply with the password policy. Okay, I will use a password. Okay, which is a 12 characters, which has one capital letter, small letter, special character, and number. Now I will be able to assign this password with 12 characters in length. Then the password will be successfully changed and I can log into the Amazon account. So now let us say if I gave you this console and if I ask you that with which user I logged into the Amazon account, how can you say that? On the top, not IAM, on the top right corner, you can see the username here. User1@account ID. That means to this console, I log in as user1. To this console, I log in as user1. That's how easily we can identify with which user you log in. If I log in with the root user, then what you can see here? What you can see? Account name. Whatever the name you assigned at the time of account creation, that you can see if you log in as a root user. Okay. So the user1 is a default user, right? What are the permissions will get by a default user? No permissions. How can we check that the user got some permissions or no permissions? How can we check? If I try to create something or if I try to do something, if it allows, I got some permissions. What I do is, being a user one, I will go to the service called IAM service. I go to service called IAM service. If I am able to do something, then I can say that I got some permissions, but I will get some error. You can see you do not have the permission. At least read permission I cannot. Generally, what should happen here? How many users are there? How many groups are there? That information has to be displayed. At least I cannot see the information. That means the user will get no permissions, including read. Even the user will not get any read permissions. Okay. So that's how we can say that by default, the default user will get no permissions. Now, let me go to the root user. This is the root user account, right? And if you go to the IAM service, by default, you will be taken to the dashboard, right? So if not, just click on the dashboard. And on the right side, what you can see on the right side, this is your account ID, and this is your account alias, and this is your IAM user sign-in link, which is a little bit difficult to remember, right? Because the number is 12 digit in length. It is a little bit hard to difficult. So we can create an alias for this number. Alias means an alternative to the number. What I do is I will create a name for that account number. So let us write down the next task. Create an account alias for AWS account. What is the use of that? So that the users no need to remember the account ID. Just they can remember the name, and while they are logging in, they can mention the name instead of 12-digit account ID. Or no need to copy or no need to save the sign-in link also. I will show you how to do that. Let us create an account alias for our Amazon account. To do that, log in as an AWS root user. Log in as a root user and navigate to the service called Identity Access Management. Make sure that you are in the dashboard, because if you are in the user section, you cannot see that sign-in link or you cannot see that account create alias. You have to be on dashboard. Click on this dashboard. Click on this dashboard. And then on the right side, under AWS account, you can see there is one option called account alias, and you can see another option called create. Click on create against the account alias, and this preferred alias to be unique. It must be unique. And I will say something like this one. Let me click on save changes. You can use any name, that doesn't matter. What happened? Alias not created. Why? That username, that name already is used by some account. So to be unique, what I do is I will say even that also I think might be I used it. I can say 016 might be that might not be taken by someone. Yeah. So this will be easy to remember, right? Generally, if you are using with your company's name, nobody will use your company name, right? So obviously that will be available. This is my personal account. Already I have used that name somewhere, or someone might use the name with the same name. That's why I was unable to create the account alias as funny. Now what I did, I created with like funny016. So how the users can log in now? Now let us try to log in as user one without using the account ID. Let us use the account alias instead of account ID. So whenever you click on sign in for the first time, you will get this page, right? So here select the IAM user. Now instead of account ID, I will type my account alias. Click on next. And here type the user one and the password. See here, without entering the account ID, easily we can log in with the account alias. You go for any company, they will use the account alias. Easy to remember, easy to access. Let us say sometimes I would like to log into the Amazon account from a different computer where I don't have the sign-in link. In that case, that will be very difficult to recollect the account ID, right? But the account name easily we can remember because that represents your organization name. Okay, so this is how you can create our first user with a default. There's a default user. 715. Okay, so then what we have to do is the user creation will be the same, but the users will get with a different permissions, right? So what are the next steps are, we will create one user with full permissions on entire account. We will create one user with read-only permission on entire account. We will create another user with full permissions on a single service, read permission on a single service. Almost like we will do like 10 different possible ways to create a different users with different permissions. And while we are applying the permissions, we will try all the 3 possible ways: attaching the policy directly, or adding the user to a group, creating the group, attaching the policy to the group, copying the permissions from an existing user. All these things we will cover. Almost like there will be 10 to 11 different ways to create the users. Most probably by tomorrow, we can complete the creation of the users and groups. Most probably policies might not be covered in one session, because initially I don't want to take like 1.5 hours, because you have to be familiarized and you have to be comfortable, right? So initially we will go with like 1 hour or so. After 1 week, we can extend the sessions like 1 hour, 15 minutes and so on. Because in the initial days, if we discuss a lot of things on a single day, that will be a kind of a confusion for everybody. Okay, right. So as of now, are you guys clear on any questions on the IAM topic? Any question? Or you got the difference between the root user and IAM user? MFA, password policy? Okay. So always I recommend to do the practicals on time, like at least with a 1 day delay. Don't delay too much, like 1 week, 2 weeks, like that. At least on the very next day also you have, it will be better so that you can remember the concepts. If you don't do the practicals, there is a chance that you might forget about the terminology. Always while you're doing the practicals, don't follow the steps blindly. Whatever the option you are going to select, try to think about that. What is that option and why I am selecting? If I don't select that option, what will happen? Might be the practicals might take some time, some extra time. But if you do in that way, you can understand the actual concept. Sometimes I see that few people will write down the steps blindly. They will do that. They will succeed in the creation of the users, but finally they will miss the core concept. What is that and what is happening in the back end? They don't know that. Might be instead of completing the practical in 1 day, it might take 2 days. That doesn't matter. But whatever you're doing the practicals, you have to be completely understand about what you have done. Might be you might complete only 50%. or you might learn only 50%. That you have to learn completely. Okay. Right. If you guys are clear, let us stop the session here and let us continue tomorrow with more practicals on the IAM. Mostly tomorrow, there will be no theory session because whatever we discussed, that has to be practically, we have to execute that. Okay. Groups, policies, and users. Mostly tomorrow, the entire session will be the practical only. Okay. Right. Thank you, everyone. We'll continue tomorrow. Video sessions that you have to check with admin, but study material and everything, just I will share. I'm about to create the Google Drive. Just I have to collect your email address also. Mostly 1 or 2 days I can share the materials. Okay. Granular permission means if I have a group and I have multiple groups, not a single group, and in each group I have multiple people. So if I apply the permission on one group, whatever the users exist in that group, they will be getting the same permission, but not other groups. Like, yes. No, you have to apply the permissions on the other group if you need them to allow. That is called granular, means what we call that. Instead of a granular, you can say there's a kind of a tree-like structure. Whatever you apply on the top, that will be automatically applied to the bottom levels. That is what the granular. And for every user, you can apply different level of permissions. That is called as a granularity or a granular permissions. Like you can decide which user can perform what kind of actions. We have that control on this particular account. Every employee will have a different level of access. Generally, in the companies, the permissions will be based on the team, in which team they are working, because every employee in the team will require the same permissions. Let us say QE team, they only require the read permission or something. Development team, they need to have usage, read and list permissions. But if there is some admin team, they need read and write. Or there will be a separate team called support or services. So they need to install the softwares or they need to create some temporary servers, right? Based on that, you can give some special permissions that the specific user can create servers or delete the servers. Creating multiple users. Today only we created the user. You're talking about the user creation or a password policy. But we cannot discuss everything together, right? We have to go one by one. So if you have a, let us say yesterday we created only the password policy. What is your question on the password policy? Like, what is the confusion? Why to create the password policy? Is that your question? Okay, then what do you mean by this? AWS. Okay, let us say for my company, I need, like, I think you, did you miss the first class? Introduction class, cloud computing basics. But in that we discuss, okay, anyways, my company requires some servers to be available for my team or something. Generally what they have to do, they have to purchase the servers. To purchase the servers, I need to invest a huge amount. I don't want to invest first thing. And then to manage the servers, I need to maintain multiple teams. I don't want to do that. If I go for cloud, everything will be maintained by the cloud. Just I can log in and I can use it. So I can reduce a lot of efforts, right? I can reduce the administration. I can reduce the physical maintenance. I no need to spend a huge amount also. That's why we will choose the cloud. Like pay as you go model. Whatever you need, just you can use it and you have to pay for that. That is what the cloud computing is. Like instead of maintaining our own servers, someone is going to maintain the servers for us. That is what the cloud computing. That doesn't mean that every employee in your organization has to get the same permissions, right? You can restrict which user can utilize what services. That is possible using the IAM. In your office, you have 50 employees. Do you allow 50 employees to create anything? Not required, right? Whatever is required for them, that we have to give. That is possible using the IAM service. What do you mean by maintaining? Yes, whatever they need, that we are going to create, that we are going to apply. Yes. Actually, as per the recommendation, we should not use the root user. We have to use the IAM user only. But there are some specific actions which has to be done by the root user only. At that time, I will mention those tasks. What are the tasks we have to use as a root user? Okay. Payment? Not debited. Which card you are using? Okay, master. Okay, I think that you have to check with your SBI. Yeah, that is like based on like for this AWS transaction, I guess international transaction must be enabled on your card. If you have a net banking on your own, you can enable it. Once you are done with the payment, you can disable it. I can understand, but I cannot speak, but I can understand. Yeah. Hmm. No, you have to create the whatever the Amazon account you created, whatever the practicals I am showing, the same thing you have to repeat. Yeah, because the IAM users are free. If there is any service involved with the charges, I will let you know. Whatever the IAM users you create, there is no charges for that. Yes, you can. Because the user one is unique for my account only. You can create the same user one in your account also. I'm writing down in the notepad, right? That will share in the Google Drive so that you can follow the same task, like a kind of assignment. Whatever I show, that the same thing you have to repeat. Root user. Yeah. Single sign-on. Identity federation is a single sign-on. With a single username, like you in your company, you will have some username and password to log in, right? With the same username and password, you can log into the Amazon account also. If you apply the permission on the group, every user will get the same permission. Individually, you can give this individual permissions. That is also possible. You can get the clarity in the tomorrow session, because in the tomorrow we are going to apply the permissions individually. We can apply the permission on the group also. So after completing the tomorrow session, you will get some clarity. Root user is only for initial account setup. Once you create your Amazon account, you have to set up that, right? For that, you have to use that. Not for day-to-day activities. IAM user. Right? That cannot be used for day-to-day activities. That is not used for day-to-day activities. Root user will be kept aside. I will create one account for you, so you have to use that account only. You don't know any other accounts. You don't know the password of any other accounts. At the time of AWS account user creation, the root user or the admin user will give the required permission. యూజర్ అకౌంట్ క్రియేట్ చేసినప్పుడు ఏ పర్మిషన్స్ కావాలో ఆ పర్మిషన్స్ తోనే క్రియేట్ చేస్తాం. మనం ఏంటంటే డిఫాల్ట్ యూజర్ కి ఏం పర్మిషన్స్ ఉంటాయని చెక్ చేయడం కోసం మనం వితౌట్ పర్మిషన్ క్రియేట్ చేస్తాం. రూట్ యూజర్ ఇస్ అ యూనిక్ యూజర్. Any user, any default user will get no permission. Let us say you create user 101 without any additional permission. He will get no permissions. How? If they know password, they can. Like user 1 is you, user 2 is me. So I can log in as a user 2 only because I know my username and password. I don't know your username and password, right? పాస్వర్డ్ రాంగ్ కాదు, పాస్వర్డ్ పాలసీ లేకుండా లెస్ దాన్ 12 క్యారెక్టర్స్ చేశారు. సో చేంజ్ చేయనివ్వదు, కంపల్సరీ పాస్వర్డ్ పాలసీతో మ్యాచ్ అవ్వదు. అది రీసెట్ చేయొచ్చు, అవి వస్తాయి నెక్స్ట్ 1 by 1 అవి చూస్తాం. ఎందుకంటే అది కామన్ గా పాస్వర్డ్స్ మర్చిపోతారు అందరు. ఐఏఎం యూజర్ పాస్వర్డ్ మర్చిపోతే యాజ్ ఎ అడ్మిన్ వీ హ్యావ్ టు రీసెట్ ఇట్. We will see all these things. Yeah, this course is suitable for the solutions architect or basic level cloud practitioner. Associate level only. Associate level architect. In the architect, associate level. Solutions architect, associate. Which one? That professional level topics will be the same, but you require more hands-on experience. Not the practical, real-time experience is required. Cloud practitioner basic level and the solutions architect associate level certification. As a fresher or experienced? As a fresher, certification is not required. Sometimes they might ask, but right now definitely it's a value added to your profile. Yeah, that they do have some separate placements. They can help you on that. What do you mean? Still you are studying? Third year. Okay. Yeah, like whenever you are a Naresh IT student, they can give you the benefit of that, because what are the placements they get, only that is exclusive for Naresh IT students, not for the outside. Okay. మీరు వెళ్ళొచ్చు, మార్నింగ్ 9 to 6 ఏదో ఓపెన్ ఉంటుంది అనుకుంటా. రిలయన్స్ బిల్డింగ్ ఉంటుంది, ఒకసారి మీరు అడిగితే వాళ్ళు చెప్తారు. 5th floor or 4th floor, ఎగ్జాక్ట్ 5th floor. Guys, whoever is having a questions, could you guys please join like 15-20 minutes earlier for tomorrow's session, because I have another session now. So I will inform the team to start the meeting like early tomorrow. So if you guys join, just I can allow everybody to unmute yourself and just I can ask the questions. And from tomorrow we can plan accordingly, so that just I can take up all the questions from you guys. Okay. Okay, thank you everyone. Just please join like 15 minutes or 20 minutes early for the tomorrow session, and I will allow everybody. I will take up all the questions and just I can answer your questions. Sorry for postponing today. Thank you everyone.